This is the Group 8 and the B sedan race. Right now, you can get a shot. We've got Trans Am on track, so it's really loud, but I'm going to do my best. So starting second place, hold on. Look at that mustache. Look at that. Look at his mustache. No, I want to point that out. Yeah. Rob Fuller starting second in our B sedan. Now, Tony, if you'll come with me, we're still setting up the grid, but I have a special guest. We are at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and we are honored to have the president of WeatherTech here, Pat Womack. How's it feel to be out here in such a big B sedan group?
Well, frankly, I'm honored to be here. WeatherTech Laguna Seca Raceway is such a historic track. Being locked out for such a long time, coming in from Chicago and being in closer to the front is an honor. I'm pretty proud to be up here. Some great cars, some great drivers, and SVRA puts on a great event, so extremely happy to be here.
Nice. I love it, Pat Womack, and I want to thank you. WeatherTech does so much to support motorsports. So if you love motorsports, make sure you go to WeatherTech.com. Go get yourself a cup phone. I love my cup phone. Pat Womack in this beautiful car right here, about to get in. He's actually our B Sedan Light champion in B Sedan 2019, right? What is it?
18.
2018, first year. Here comes our pole. So we've got, in the B sedans, we've got Datsun 510s. We've got Alfa Romeos, BMW 2002s, Datsun 710s. We're going to make our way down the grid a little bit. So let's get a shot here. Chet Taylor. We're going to talk a lot about Chet Taylor. Just 21 years old from Pasadena, California. Then right here, Tony, this is our pole setter, Troy Ermish. So we've got two Datsun 510s starting up at the front. Troy Ermish from California. He builds beautiful 510s, has a lot of customers. We're going to let some of these cars go by. Here comes our beautiful pace car. But I have something to show you guys that's pretty cool. All right, let's get a shot of this. Hot Wheels. If you're a car person, chances are your addiction, your habit started with 99 cents. Ryle Barnett right here, this is his car. This Eibach 2002, beautiful car. So look at this. So Ryle, it's gotta be a huge honor to be made into a Hot Wheel.
It's a dream come true. I've always played with Hot Wheels as a kid. Now I'm playing with a Hot Wheel as a 56-year-old.
Nice. I love it. See, the addiction starts there with Hot Wheels. So we're going to come down here. Keith Libbiet, he's really fast. He was with us last weekend at Sonoma. So was Ryle. They had a great race. This B sedan class, if you've been following along, is very competitive. Kind of started out here with the Trans Am series. It's basically the Trans Am. They have 2-liter, 2.5 liters. The Volvo right here, Jim Gallardi. I was giving him a hard time. You look at this car. I was asking him if he thinks that aerodynamics is a myth, because this thing looks like a brick, but it's really fast. We're going to move down here. Looks like we're about 3 minutes, so we're going to try to come down, get James Palacci, Vice President of Marketing right here with NetJets. James, we got 3 minutes on the grid. Do what you need to do, but how's it feel? You did Roebling Road Race School with us in 2019, and now you're in the most competitive field with SVRA.
I'm a little bit nervous, but very excited and couldn't wait to be more of a part between NetJets and SVRA. So I'm thrilled to be here, but got to get ready.
Nice. So James is with NetJets, private aviation, the best way to fly. It's a lot of fun. It looks like we're at about, I can't tell where we are on the grid, but if you don't mind, Tony, can we walk back down the grid a little bit? We've got so many great cars here. So basically, this is kind of the end of the B sedans here. We've got a Datsun 240Z. Becky Pengraff is running our grid. Becky, give a wave to the cameras. She's our awesome grid marshal, trying to make sense of all of this out here. Then we're going to come down here. Here's a great story. This beautiful Lotus Elan We're going to be talking a lot about him, Jonathan. Tom Tuttle. He's been racing a long time, a British Leyland driver, racing for MG, and now he's out here in this beautiful Elan, so expect him to move up to the front through here. We've got a lot of beautiful Lotus 7s. Look at how low this car is. So you see this right here. This is his arm restraint. On a Lotus 7, the arm restraint is very important because he could touch the ground out here. These things are so low. And then you got to get a shot of this. Look at this right here. That's beautiful. I love it. He's period correct. I love it when they're doing this. And then we've got some Datsuns, some 240s, Porsche 914. We've got the Trans Am cars coming in. Just some beautiful cars. And the beauty of this, you know, you've been with us all year. This weekend, we're going to have some of the biggest grids we've had in 2021 and some of the fanciest cars. So watch out here. We got a 914 coming in. Some more Lotus 7s. And then just get a shot of this piece of artwork coming down here, this red Alpha. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Great cars. Jonathan, I am so excited. I'm going to send it back to you. I can't wait to come up there and start our racing at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Thank you guys so much. We're going to split the start. B sedans in Group 8. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see you up there.
Great stuff, Ben. If you can't get excited by that, you're not on this planet. What a wonderful day! What a wonderful view! Welcome to Monterey, California, the beautiful rolling hills of Monterey, and this is a circuit steeped in history, especially with SVRA and of course Trans Am. Trans Am began coming here back in the late 60s, as I mentioned at the top, and well, this is only our 12th time. We haven't actually been here every year, but we love coming here every year, and of course it is so famous for this particular corner here. As you look high up towards the famous WeatherTech Raceway and the corkscrew that is the biggest corner and the most death-defying corner there is. It doesn't matter whether it's 2 wheels or 4 wheels. The corkscrew is special. But it's not the only corner. There's so many places that you can make up time or lose time. We're looking down at turn 3 and 4, 2 very fast-flowing right and left-handers. Turn 4 especially, very hard indeed because you start to build uphill towards that corkscrew from turn 4 and then up to 5. The Rahal straight at 6. And as I said, this in the heyday of West Coast racing in California. And in fact, the history of this circuit goes back to Pebble Beach. They used to race on the beaches of Pebble Beach. But of course, as you can imagine, just as it was at Daytona, and it just got a little too dangerous. They were going faster and faster, so they said, we got to build a track. So they built a track, and they've been coming here ever since. And it's literally placed in these hills high above Monterey, between Monterey and Salinas. And I'm delighted to say our local man, Thomas Merrill, will be racing. He's from Salinas and he grew up racing here and watching his father and mother race here, and he'll be in action of course in TA2 later today. So we've got a whole host of great racing, starting with the SVRA, and as Ben mentioned, Troy Ernish is your pole man for this, the Group 8 split grid. As Ben explained, we'll have a split start for the 2 different classes involved. And we really got a really good glimpse of just how many different cars. I love this group because I love the Japanese cars that came here with the Datsuns, and of course those box-like BMWs. And that's a bit rude, but I'd certainly have a Hot Wheels of one of those BMWs. They're so cool. Mainly from 2002, 2003, and then those Datsun 510s. And it is the Datsun 510 with a 144.049 on pole position with Troy Ernish. Alongside him, Rob Fuller. And in fact, the times were very close indeed. 144.06 versus 144.04. So nothing between the 200s between those two. Jeffrey Parnell is in third, and so it's a lockout for the Datsuns at the front. 3 510s at the front. Then it's a BMW followed by several other BMWs. Patrick Womack, who we heard interviewed there, great to have him on board. as well, and we're delighted to be at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Now you can see the hill. This is the run up to turn 5, which leads on to the Ray Hall Straight, and literally they dip into the mountains here, and you'll see, and here is that famous corkscrew as they literally dive downhill. Your heart goes in your mouth. I've been around in a pace car around here, and you can see from above, and the drone shots really give you an indication of just where you are in the mountains and hills. Some very beautiful houses in the background there, and they've been coming here for, what, some 50 years or so, and all the greats. I saw a picture on the wall of a Starbucks this morning with Ken Miles. Yes, the very same Ken Miles, Ferrari versus Ford, and he raced here back in '63. So there you go.
Well, Jonathan, I am so excited about what we're about to see, and I've even talked to Rob Fuller and Troy Ermish. I told him to take the green real slow, really make the field pack up, put on a good show for the audience here watching on our app, and they're doing just that. Look at that beautiful side of B sedans coming through, taking the green flag, Jonathan.
Away we go then for our first race of the day here, a 2-day event, SVRA and Trans Am, and diving into the first corner go our leaders. This very tight left-hander, which then opens up to 2 more flowing corners.
Pat Womack looking outside.
Oh. Yeah, it's a funny corner, this, because there's so many lines through there, and if you get too tight, you can get hung out to dry, and if you get too wide, same is true. The next 2 corners are pretty much flowing.
Yeah, there's some drama, too. This morning, they were the first group out for qualifying, and it was a very green track. We had a lot of dew last night, so nobody got good laps. We had a lot of people spin off, so everybody was complaining they didn't get good qualifying laps. As we look there, he's fallen back, Jeffrey Parnell, as that's Chet Taylor there in that Alpha with the yellow nose.
Yep.
Coming up, Chet Taylor, only 21 years old, actually going to fine art school, as we watch the other start with Tom Tuttle in that beautiful Lotus Elan.
So they get the green flag, as we said, the split cars to give each other some breathing space and some racing space as they dive into the first corner. David Murray on the inside in the 11.
That's Tom Tuttle.
Excuse me, that's Tom Tuttle, yeah.
Lotus Elan. Mark Nichols followed right behind him. Look at this, 2 Lotuses, very different cars, but probably nearly the same weight. Now we go back with Troy Ermish there, coming around the second to last turn of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. And Troy Ermish fixes and makes some of the best dots in 510, so much so he's become really good friends with John Morton and Peter Brock, and they hang out all the time. And, you know, if you know John Morton, he's got a lot of history here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in a Datsun 510. That's Rob Fuller from the Bay Area, right behind him, the man with the great mustache from the grid walk.
You know, I love the idea of walking the walk and talking the talk. To have the MD of WeatherTech here, I mean, we won't make too much of it, but, you know, that's kind of cool, isn't it? And that's really what SVRA is about, which is, you know, you make a product that is for the automotive industry, but you also enjoy it. And that's how you get to know what people actually want, and you get feedback, and you'll get your cup holder, I'm sure.
Yeah, I have. I've been using the cup phone for a couple years, and I like it so much I actually bring it with me on these trips and use it in my rental car. As we look at Troy Ermish coming down the hill, followed by Rob Fuller, and then followed right there by Pat Womack in that beautiful 2002. So here's the main 3 cars in the B sedan series is the BMW 2002, the Datsun 510, and this Alfa Romeo that Chet is driving.
And those Warsteiner colors are literally classic BMW colors too, because so many of the BMWs around the world that have raced in touring cars and GT and you name it have got those Warsteiner colors, and so they've been a long-term sponsor of BMW. When I see those colors, it really does ping out, and I know it's a BMW instantly. Well, you only have to look at the grill, but he got a little bit squirrely there, though.
A little bit squirrely there, and I'm looking for a good fight between Jeffrey Parnell and Pat Womack. Troy Ermish, who takes care of Parnell's car, saying that they're going to have a really good battle. But Chet Taylor, I've known him now for a little over a year. Really good driver. He's only been driving for about 4 years in that white Alpha, but a very good driver. He was with us last weekend at Sonoma and just put on a show.
Well, like I said, the pole position was a 1:44, and they've already got into the 1:42s. Tom Ernish, last lap, his best time of 1:42.9 on lap 2. So they are hooning around here at the moment and increasing their lap times for qualifying. Conditions absolutely perfect here. We had a little bit of mist in the morning. We had some last night, and that's always a problem here on the West Coast, that the mist can come in. If you know San Francisco, just up the road, it's often clouded in fog, and it's the same here in Monterey, just 100 miles down the road. But it usually comes in and then blows off by about 11 o'clock, but we've been lucky this morning.
Yeah, we've had beautiful weather all weekend long as we look at the beautiful number 25 of Armin Jorbani, also with Troy Ermish's team. And then that's Mark Netterschein there in that number 37 Datsun 510. Mark races with us quite a bit, is always really, really fast, but it looks like his fuel door might be open, creating a little bit of drag. But if you notice, the B sedan, like I kind of made that joke at the grid, it looks like these might all be flat earthers, because it looks like they think that aerodynamics is a myth. But I love these cars. This is if I was to race in the vintage class, I think this would be the way to go. It's very competitive, especially out here on the West Coast. Matt Rose and his crew have done a great job with the 2.5 Challenge. And there's just some beautiful cars with a great field of machines out there. Look at these things come over.
Well, you've got to remember,
like they're dancing over the corkscrew.
Yeah, they weren't. They were sedans. They were production cars. They weren't made aerodynamically to try to save fuel or to try to go fast. They were just made for comfort and agility, and that's exactly what they've got.
They were made basically during the oil embargo,
right?
And everybody was really worried about fuel mileage, but still being able to go to the grocery store with their full family. And they just happen to make really good race cars in the Trans Am series.
And this would have been a good size family car in the day.
Yeah. That's Keith Lippiatt there in that beautiful green and yellow 2002, really fast driver. He was with us last weekend at Sonoma and made quite a few passes and worked his way up the field, and expect him to do the same here. This is hard on the brakes down there going into the Andretti turn. And then there's Ryle Barnett, the Hot Wheel that I showed you earlier. Ryle's been racing with us for quite a while. This is a big family thing. They camp out. They set up like AstroTurf and picket fences in front, and they have about 6 or 7 cars out there. But how cool is it that that car was turned into a Hot Wheel?
That's brilliant.
That'd be like a dream.
Yeah, that's very cool. You've got to have that on the mantelpiece, haven't you?
Yeah. So Hot Wheels, if you're listening, we'd love more SVRA cars to be turned into Hot Wheels. Maybe your national champion trophy should be you get your own Hot Wheel.
I like that.
Now here, if we stay here, I think they're coming up to what I consider the most important turn at Laguna Seca. If you get turn 6 right, it really sets up for a good lap. And if you get it wrong, it can cost you a second. It's a slight left. They're probably full on the power there, sliding through, drifting out, and trying to make their way up the hill. Because
and now you see how long that hill is. Look.
And then with this displacement of cars, they're hitting their limit right there going up the hill. Then it's hard on the brakes, down through the gears, through that corkscrew. That shot right there really shows you what these cars are going through that corkscrew. I think that's my favorite livery car in this field, that number 22 there of Jonathan Ornstein, that BMW 2002. And we're looking at a car that's familiar to us because Rob Davenport drives the same livery 210 of Dick Davenport, his dad, and now they're out there in his 710 that belonged to Dick Davenport with SCCA runoffs in the 70s.
So you're watching Group 8 in our first coverage of the weekend. We welcome our fans on the app. If you're tuning in for the first time, we are at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and it's a beautiful day here in Monterey, California. Third round of the Trans Am Championship, and we'll have interspersed plenty of great SVRA action, including this weekend HTA, which is historic Trans Am, and I can promise you that will not disappoint. I've been listening to the sounds of those cars all weekend long. I talked also to Tommy Dreesy, who's doing double duty, the man from Hollywood, who races in TA and, of course, is vying for the championship there. But he's racing his very own 1970 Camaro, which has got a rich history, which we'll explain and tell you more about later today. But we really have a host of great cars to show you today. And I'm sure, given this track and the history of this track, the drivers absolutely loving getting a chance to race in the sunshine here in Monterey.
And I misspoke. That's actually Dan Durr in the number 22. Jonathan Ornstein, who started 22nd in this, now moved up to 14th. So Jonathan is in the 22.
The 22A,
and then that beautiful green and gray car is Dan Durr. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we've got a few double numbers. I've done the same myself, 22 and 22A, and they're on the track together. Jonathan Ornstein in 22 and Dan Durr in the 22A.
That's Bruce Maurhan right there in that beautiful Datsun 240. Some really pretty cars here this weekend. And Jonathan, this is the biggest vintage field that we'll have covered in 2021 as we see that number 132 of Deborah Briscoe. Debbie Briscoe is here racing with us. That's a family affair. Debbie, Brad, and their son all race with us, but we're hoping that Brad gets well. He fell really ill as soon as they got here to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and he's recovering from that. So, Brad, if you're watching, Debbie's doing great out there in that 2002.
And as you can imagine, given the COVID crisis, still no crowds around here. Usually we have, well, 50,000. I mean, it's just a great place to come, isn't it? Yeah. You know, this is the one place, or one of the few places, where you can genuinely get a deck chair, wander around, and be seen pretty much 80% of the track wherever you go. If you want to go to the corkscrew, then climb the hill and go all the way up there. If you want to go in front of where we are in our commentary position on the front straight and look right up the hill, you'll see most of the track from there. It really is a fantastic place to view a race.
Yeah, look at that. Tom Tuttle coming around in that Lotus Elan. Beautiful car. I hope Tom doesn't mind me saying this. He's been racing, he basically said, all of his life. 75 years old. Racing that thing like crazy. Was an actual factory British Leyland driver for MG back in the day.
Wow.
So it's an honor to have royalty out here with us, Tom Tuttle, in that beautiful Lotus Elan. As Debbie Briscoe is about to get passed possibly by some of these Group 8 players out here. That's a pretty car.
It is a pretty car, yeah.
That is the car that actually Mazda bought a few of those, and they wanted to model the Miata after the Elan, and you can see it. It does look like that's kind of, the Miata is kind of a modern version of that car, as we've got this Lotus 7 coming up here. Look at how low that is.
Yeah, that looks like a handful. But I love the garb. I love the goggles.
Yeah.
Really nice.
That's Mark Nichols there. And that beautiful Lotus 7. I think we have 3 Lotus 7s in this group. So let me explain the split start.
Yeah.
B sedan would normally be in Group 8. But when you have so many Group 8 B sedans like this, we thought, well, let's make a show of it. It's a great class. Used to race here back in the day with the Trans Am series. It's the Trans Am SpeedFest. So let's kind of give them their own group within a group. And so not only are they racing for the overall win, but they're also racing in the B sedan and B sedan light classes.
You could see the fog I was talking about in the background there, because that is towards turn 11. This last turn is towards the sea. So it's a foggy morning in Monterey this morning, but we here up in the hills have managed to avoid it. And I don't think it's coming our way. It'll usually blow off by midday or so, so we'll hope for that. Good little battle going on here.
Datsun versus BMW. Who's going to come out on top of this one?
They're very similar looking when you see these two iterations. It's they're not that dissimilar, are they?
No. I think basically because of the oil embargo and people were kind of sick of their muscle cars draining so much. You know,
well, they couldn't afford to run them anyway.
Yeah, they started thinking, well, how can we fit 4 or 5 people in a car comfortably and save the most gas? And then it just turned out, like the Mini Cooper, that the cars were so well balanced and so nimble, they became really fun to drive.
Well, that corkscrew, very exhilarating in any car or motorcycle. And of course, there's a rich history of motorcycle racing here at Laguna as well. I've been here many times following the bikes. Wayne Rainey, a former world champion in 500 cc's, lives in these hills here in Monterey. I'm sure he can hear it from while he's mowing the lawn this morning.
We've got a good battle there with Kelvin C. and David Murray. And that Datsun, there's our leader, Troy Ermish.
And he's got a good lead too.
He does. He's built some really good Datsun 510s. He was a SVRA national champion Group 8 from the first year we were at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this. You know, you presume, because we just had a race, or you just were at Sonoma last weekend, and I know the West Coast has a huge depth of historic racing, and always has done. you know, from Monterey, San Francisco, Sonoma, LA. They really love their racing here, and they've kept some fantastic cars, and there's some big collectors here. But I also noticed there's a lot of guys just want to race Laguna, so we've got a lot of our national guys from the East Coast come here as well.
It's a world-famous track. It's always on everybody's bucket list, as we saw James Palacci from NetJets dive down the corkscrew. And this is a track that, you know, when we put out our schedule every year and ask everybody their top 5, their top 10 tracks, this is always a top. This is always in the top 10, top 5 tracks, and we just got the LL sign there at the starters, which means we've got 1 lap to go left in this awesome Group 8 and B sedan race. So let's go through. Troy Ermish in first place, followed by Rob Fuller in the number 7, followed by Patrick Womack. So Patrick Womack, if he stays at it, will be on the podium at his own namesake track at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
That would be very cool.
Followed by Chet Taylor in the Alfa Romeo and Jeffrey Parnell. Oh, Patrick
Taylor
Womack
just
falling back.
Just dropped back to 5th.
I just jinxed him.
You did.
I don't know what happened. Looks like he might have had something happen at the Andretti turn. He's in that white, in the red, white, and blue BMW. I don't see him
you can
on
see.
the images.
You can see on the lower part of the screen, he's in 5th place now in the number 20.
Uh-oh. Sorry, Pat. I didn't mean to jinx
In fact,
you
he's
there.
going right down. I think he's slowing right down. I saw him coming down the straight, and I think he's going to be... I think he might have stopped, so he's going right down the order. Sadly, that was... Oh, you did. You jinxed him. He was on for a podium. He's going to be so disappointed.
Yeah, that's my fault. I'll take credit for that.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, here we go. Oh, no.
Just outside into the deep gravel. Out, away.
Yeah, I was telling Ron, our cameraman, that is quite a classic place to go off. You can easily get it wrong at that particular corner and end up in that kitty lid up.
Debbie Briscoe coming up behind, and I see this is really fun to watch. I love this. If this doesn't put a smile on your face, then you're just not a motorsports fan. Looking at these different cars out there racing, the lean on these B sedans, it's just so much fun.
So, final lap of our first race of the day, the Group 8 split grid for our sedans. And if you're tuning in on the app, have a look around the app and maybe you fancy a go. Ben, what do you do if you want to come racing in SVRA?
If you want to come racing in SVRA, the first thing you do is actually probably go to svra.com, look at the classes, see what you want to run, and then contact Rick. Rick@svra.com is his email, and he will help you out, help you find a car or build a car. But before you make any decisions, I would strongly advise you to talk to some people that are doing vintage racing, find out the groups you want to run in, and this is the most fun you can have. Well, I just heard that Pat Womack is still off course at 5, so we do appreciate him pulling off course so that we can finish the race under green. Nice job, and we've got a lot of beautiful cars coming. Look at these shots that Logan, our pilot, is giving us here with the hills in the background. That is not fake. There's no CGI here. That is how this place actually looks.
Well, we're very lucky to have Logan this weekend with us. They were 100% sure of the guy on Mars pilot. So Logan was kind of torn. He wanted to go to Laguna Seca. He's an observer, and but he chose to come here and tell NASA not this weekend, which is good.
That is good. I love seeing the drivers put their hands out the window, thanking the corner workers for being here, putting on a great show, and that was a great way to start our weekend here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Some really good racing, some decisions there made at the end, and it should be good. Our next group is going to be Group 10, so that'll be fun. Jonathan, I'm going to run down and do the podium celebrations for this one, and I'll meet you back up here.
Try not to talk to Mr. Womack. He won't be ready for an interview.
Yeah, he might be a little bit upset. And he doesn't know yet that I jinxed him.
All right, Ben, you head out, and we'll take a look at some of the highlights of this amazing first group. So let's take a look at what has been a great start to our weekend. Group 8 got underway and the sedans dived into the Andretti curve, led by Troy Ernish, who was the pole man, and up the famous hill, the Ray Hall straight, down the corkscrew. Plenty of great action. And as we came down to the closing stages, Troy Ernish hadn't lost any of his pace. And Rob Fuller was chasing down in second place. Just 3 seconds he closed the gap to, with Chet Taylor in third place and Jeff Parnell in fourth. So some great action from WeatherTech, and confirmation of the result then. Troy Ernish started from pole and finished brilliantly in the Datsun 510, and again Rob Fuller, who started right there with him, also finished second. Chet Taylor in third, Jeffrey Parnell fourth, Netashim in fifth, Gorbani in sixth place, Kelvin Say in seventh position, David Murray and Thomas Dockery and Keith Lepiat in 10th position. That's the first group, Group 8, and a little further down, as you can see, it looks as though sadly Womack didn't actually finish, so he got into the gravel trap and didn't get to think. Good run. We saw Deborah Briscoe in that BMW, and she had a good run, and great to see that Lotus Elan of Tom Tuttle.